Hi everyone, I'm Sal, co-creator of Salt and Pepper Productions,
And hi, I'm Pep, co-creator of Salt and Pepper Productions.
and we're back with another The Promised Neverland video. Today we're going to talk about Season 2, Episode 10 of The Promised Neverland anime. This was a pretty cool episode. There were a lot of twists and surprises, and there was also a lot of cool action.
Yeah, I mean, the whole episode was a Russian nesting doll of, aha, but I had a plan for that. Also, I have to say my favorite scene is when Sunju jumped in the well because it made me think of a cat jumping in a box.
That's a weird comparison.
I know, but the second he jumped in, my mind just went, if it fits, it sits.
So, in this episode, the kids finally return to Gracefield and put their rescue plan in motion. And at the very start of this episode, we learned that the final scene from the previous episode was just a red herring. Vincent didn't betray the group, he was actually feeding Peter Rattery false intel. So, the people at the farms would be expecting a specific thing to happen, and while they're distracted by that trap, the kids can infiltrate headquarters and rescue the children that way.
Yeah. Also, they used uh, hot air balloons that were like set to explode because they knew that they were gonna like try and shoot them down. So they just sent false hot air balloons and then got them all to go over to the hot air balloons, and then the hot air balloons exploded, and then they
Yeah, they
actually
were like,
attacked.
yeah. Like, I think there were smoke bombs or bombs inside the basket of those hot
Mm-hmm.
air balloons, and then Sunju and the Lambda kids jumped down and began fighting off the guards. Meanwhile, Emma, Ray, Norman, and the other Gracefield kids went to the remains of Plant 3, their old home, which is burnt down. So, since Plant 3 was burnt down, there's no longer children living at that house, so it makes
Yeah.
sense that the demons weren't guarding that area because they were expecting them to attack the other plants, but
Mm-hmm.
not Plant 3 because there's nobody there anymore.
Yeah. Also, I like the fact that one of the kids said, "Oh, the fire didn't touch the well. It's made of stone. It has water at the bottom. I don't think that's gonna burn."
Well, there actually wasn't water at the bottom
Okay,
because.
that's true, but like normally wells have water at the bottom, and they're made of stone.
Right. But
It has to be pretty hot to burn stone.
I'm guessing from the blueprints of the headquarters they received in the previous episode, they discovered that the wells in each plant at Gracefield actually is connected to an underground tunnel that leads right into headquarters, so they were able to infiltrate headquarters that way.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Like that they have more tunnels underneath the plate. They have more hidden secrets. Like why the well? I feel like the well would be like one of the worst places to hide it because I feel like a kid would eventually just climb into the well at some point,
Well, the mothers and
like
the
just to
sisters
explore.
probably wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of kids there. Like they could get distracted by like one, and they just have that one adventurous little kid who's like, you know what, I'm gonna jump in the well. Um, you're gonna do what, Tommy? I'm gonna jump in the well. I saw a tunnel down there, Mom. I'm gonna go explore.
No, no,
No,
no.
Tommy, no.
Yeah. They would
um,
probably go, no, 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 kids, it's not safe. Similar to how, don't go near the gate, it's not safe. Don't go near the little fence, it's not safe. Don't go near the wall, it's not safe. so they would probably just take that approach.
We see how well that works. Isabella had to break Emma's leg to keep her away from the wall. And that didn't even work. They eventually escaped anyway.
So, what else? Oh, and we got to see Phil again and all the other little kids from last season, which was cool. Poor Phil in this episode, like, the moment the mothers and sisters announced that everybody's leaving, like, the terror on his face.
He's like, oh, I thought I had more time.
Yeah,
I guess I'm gonna die.
yeah, like the walk over to the gate, and then when the gate closed behind him, the terror on his face, he's basically anticipating his death at this point.
Yeah, and then, I forget her name, but he sees one of the girls who escaped, Jemima. He sees her, and he's like, "Wait, we get to escape. I'm not dead. I'm going to live life."
And he was so happy and surprised to see her that he was actually crying. And then later on, the reunion between Phil and Emma, that was so cute.
Yeah, they're like
big sister and little brother reunited.
Yeah, it was adorable. What was I gonna say? Um, also, I think that was pretty smart that they like sent. I thought it was a pretty fun way of having them like run back. It's like, oh, okay, everybody, we're going to be playing tag.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone touch you. Run and 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah. Like they infiltrated the headquarters and were able to enter the sound system and shut down the system, the power, so they were able to. So for a brief period of time, the mothers and the sisters and Peter Rattery were unable to do anything temporarily.
Yeah.
And
yeah, go ahead, keep going.
And they eventually reach the elevator, but then they find themselves surrounded by mothers and sisters with guns.
Yeah, can I just point out one of my the things I've repeatedly noticed, and I'm still curious about. Why is it that all the demons we've seen who have weapons have like medieval style weapons? Like we saw that army marching, and they looked like an army. They looked like the Egyptian army out of an old movie. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, but they kind of look like the old Egyptian army out of a movie, or at least a medieval army, because they're like short spear and shield, marching in like columns, and then every human character who has been given a weapon who is like in some way military has like an MP4. Why? Why? Is it they just like, oh, humans are weak, so we give them gun, or is it like demons' fingers too fat to use gun?
Both theories make sense. Both of those explanations make sense, actually.
But here's the issue: we've seen small demons, and we can imply that guns can probably kill a demon. Also, there's a big problem of the fact of if it's the fingers, you just build a bigger gun. Like, it doesn't have to be the tiny little MP4 submachine gun. Just give them a bazooka. Or, okay, this would be kind of hilarious. Imagine one carrying around like a Gatling gun from like a video game. It's just something I noticed. I'm like, is it that the demons don't want the human technology? Because they already have some human technology. They have the cars and all that. Is it they don't want the well, they have radios and that sort of thing. So it's like they have human technology, but they don't have human weapons. Or what I say is like advanced technology, but they don't use weapons. They're just like, nah, don't need a gun, just sword.
The humans are weak theory makes sense. Like, maybe they're just overly confident, like, we're too good for guns.
Okay, But like that might be true, but also that's incredibly arrogant because to my understanding of like the lore, the reason the demons agreed to this is because the humans were like pushing demons back at like it's a very steady pace, and that's before like this, and that happened in like the 10th century, right, or the ninth
1,000
century.
years ago.
Yeah, 1,000 years ago, which is about the 10th, ninth century. Well, ninth century, not 10th. Um, and we didn't have guns back then, or maybe we did. I think we had hand cannons, like very simple tube weapons. But like humans were doing that back then, and now just because they're here in this world and that they're raising humans, they're overconfident about the fact that humans won't get them again. Like I don't know. It seems it's because I don't know. What I'm trying to say is like in the lore, from what we understand, from what Senju has told us about the world, demons originally had power over humans. Or were like hunting humans, and then humans got strong enough to hunt demons, and then humans getting tired of doing that just said, "Hey, how about we just come to a peace agreement?" And demons were like, "Sure." And that's how it worked out, which makes me wonder: do you really like? I don't know. I guess it makes it. I don't know. The whole society, the whole upper class of that society, just seems really arrogant. That like nothing is ever going to touch him. Like even near the end, when like Peter is like, "What do you mean? You can't change it. It will end the world and all that." And it's like, I mean, there's no reason for them to fight now. They don't have a reason to fight. The agreement's not what's keeping them from fighting. The thing that's going to keep them from fighting is that they don't want to fight. I don't know. It just seems very, very weird to me that they're like that. They'd be that confident.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. I don't know. I'm going to say it's probably a stylistic choice because I'll fully admit medieval demons is much cooler looking than sci-fi demons, I would imagine.
Hmm.
Also, it'd be incredibly unfair to the kids. I don't think if the demons had guns, it'd be very fair to the kids. Very unfair. I think technically the reasons for that in storytelling is we need to give the kids a chance.
Yeah. So anyway, the kids
Okay.
are at the elevator. They can't get the elevator to work, and then they're surrounded by mothers and sisters with guns. Isabella's there too. She has a gun. And then Peter
course.
Battery shows up, and he believes
He doesn't have a gun.
Yeah, he doesn't have a gun, and he believes that this is the end for these kids, that they need to accept their fates, their destiny, and that basically they're destined to be eating and they can't escape. And Emma refuses to give up. And then Isabella and all the other women turn on Peter Rattery. They all point their guns at him.
The betrayal I didn't see coming. Wait, what? I didn't expect Isabella to do that. That was actually really cool.
Yeah, a lot of surprises in this episode. And kind of makes me wonder, when the demons offered to make Isabella a grandmother, did she see that as an opportunity to what's the word? To pull herself, put
double
herself
cross.
An opportunity
Fifth column.
to get out of the situation she was in. And basically this whole time she was waiting for the right opportunity, and since the kids were coming back, she saw this as her opportunity to turn the tables on Peter.
That's very possible. I kind of like that idea. That because she is kind of like an incredibly intelligent character, and I like the idea that like despite the fact that has traditionally been so conformist to the system because she's had to be, that the second she's given the opportunity to buck the system and kind of go back to that point in time where she was on the wall and could have escaped, that and she chose not to. She went back to her mother.
Right. Like, I think,
Um,
like, we've talked about how Emma and Isabella were very similar, how they had very similar childhoods, and how when Isabella saw that there was a chasm on the other side of the wall, she just gave up, but Emma refused to give up. So maybe when she saw Emma escape, there was a part of her that kind of sees Emma as what she failed to be. And
yeah,
when they offered to make her a grandmother, she basically, this is my chance to make up for the mistake I made when I was younger. I just need
yeah,
to accept this position and then wait for the right opportunity. And
mm,
she probably had faith in her children that they would be able to overcome and outsmart the farm system, because after what happened in season 1, she saw how capable they were and had faith in them. I even
yeah,
remember back in episode 4, she said, "They are my children after all." Like, she seemed confident that, yeah, they're gonna escape from the shelter because they're my kids. I know that they're capable.
yeah. Um,
And even in this
I think,
scene, when Emma and Peter were facing off and arguing right before Isabella turned on Peter, I think she said something like, "I raised my children well." So
yeah,
basically, she had faith that they would be able to outsmart Peter and the others, and she was just waiting for them to strike so she could strike.
yeah,
And we even got this little scene where basically there are fires outside the gates in each of the farms. The children are panicking, the mothers and the sisters are panicking, and one of the sisters or mothers went, "Wait here, children, I'll be right back." She goes through a door, and then we see Isabella in this room, and we hear somebody calling her over the radio, and we see Isabella smile like, "This is my chance to get the others involved." Hence why the other sisters and the other mothers turned their guns on Peter,
Peter.
because they know this is their chance. They're following Isabella's orders.
Yeah. I can imagine that the other sisters were probably flocked to the opportunity to be able to like get the freedom. Because they also what she said is they also turned off the kids turned off the device in her chest along with the ones for the other girls.
Yeah, she said when the system went down, it nullified the chips in their chests. So
They're all
basically,
free.
Isabella's like, "You have no power over us anymore. We're not going to bow down to you anymore."
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting parallel to the amazing thing that happens at the end, and that is the demons decide, oh, we're just gonna. Apparently, there's other farms, so they called in armies from the other farms, which is the Egyptian-looking army I mentioned earlier. Uh,
But the
but as
citizens
it
got
turns,
there first.
yeah, as it turns out, Viva la Revolution. The peasants finally the evil-blooded religion or peoples end up finally being able to rise a revolt against against their society and their overlords in the farm,
Yeah.
which is a nice parallel because they're now freed from needing to eat people in order to live and not suffer either suffer terrible deformities or eventually go wild or rabid, but however you want to describe it. Um, and the mothers, the ones who are controlling the kids, no longer have explosives in their chest, which means they can't be controlled. So as soon as the system lost control over the people ended up tearing it down. Basically, is what's happening.
Right.
The system the system only existed because it had control over the people, and as soon as it couldn't control the people, it was taken down.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, it not needing to imply control over them.
Mm-hmm.
So, Demon Land is going under revolt. The parallel
to
universe is now.
to Peter's surprise.
Yeah. Well, not a surprise. I think Peter is abhorred by it. I think Peter is afraid. I think Peter was from what he said at the end of the episode. It sounds like he truly believes that like the farm system is the only thing keeping the demons and humans from like murdering each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and by demons and humans, I mean the two worlds from interacting and killing each other. I don't think he believes that demons and humans can like truly coexist at all.
But as Emma said, told him, like, if the demons have no reason to need to eat humans, like, if the evil blood spreads, then the demons won't need the humans anymore, so even if we leave and go to the human world, they'll be fine.
Yeah, she even said that like the demons and humans could interact; they could live among each other because the demons don't need to eat people anymore.
Hmm.
They could trade. They could live the life of rattery in the demon world. There doesn't need to be this strict control over between the two worlds to keep them from killing each other. Now they've developed a way to live with each other peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, the demon world is... Oops, sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish your thought.
Oh, the demon world is going to be a little hectic for a little bit because there are other farms, so the revolt is going to take a little bit to, like, finish off, and then, I don't know, I think they're gonna establish a democracy or something. And then, it'll be a little hectic for a while, but, you know, this is an anime, so it'll probably take, like, a year.
So in this episode, what were you saying?
Oh, and then we'll have skyscrapers in the demon world and all that. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
So in this episode, we finally learned the relation between James and Peter. So Peter is William Minerva's younger brother. And we also learned that the Rattery family was actually the family that made the deal with the human world. They're the ones who came up with separating the two worlds, and I guess presumably a few hundred years after that, they were the ones who came up with the farm system, because according to Norman, Mujika showed up 700 years ago after the promise, but before the farm system was established.
Yeah. I guess they had. Maybe a part of the deal is that the Ratteries would like remain as like diplomats between the two. I don't know why the Ratteries were still so involved in the demon world. Like, I would have imagined that after the deal, they just keep the gates closed and like watch over the gate on one end. But like, I guess the Ratteries saw an opportunity to get power in the demon world with the farms or something like that.
Potentially.
So I think a part of why Rattery was so unwilling to give up his position or like to see the system go is that once the system is gone, he has no power. He's just one human among all the rest, and now he doesn't have that special position of authority in the demon world that gave him so much power before. And that's why he doesn't, like, as much as he might believe that the system has is necessary to keep peace between the humans and the demons, I think that is in his way a justification for what he really wants, which is to continue his power and status.
Right. Potentially.
Yeah, potentially. That's just my view. Sorry, I got sidetracked with that. I don't know where I was going.
It's okay.
Yeah. What was it? Yeah. I wonder if not William. I was about to say William and Never, but James, his older brother, if he's actually dead or if was like exiled back to the human world. Yeah, James is. I was about to say William. Okay, it's hard when the person has two names.
So Peter is
I was
our gatekeeper.
yeah,
James is
yeah.
William
I was
the foreigner.
yeah. I know. I was trying to use James Roddery instead of William Minerva because we know his real name and not his
Okay.
alias.
Okay.
Sorry, that's what I'm trying to do, and I almost said William because I'm trying to say James because I knew William Minerva first. I just met James. Uh,
We actually never
I,
met James. He's presumably dead.
presumably, that's what I'm getting on to here. I really wonder if like he is dead or if he was exiled to the human world. Because if the Ratteries have the status that they do, maybe it would. I don't know if there. Maybe there's an agreement where the demons can't kill a Rattery or something. I think that would make a lot of sense for
Hmm.
as like part of the agreement. And then James would have to be like exiled back to the human world and not allowed no contact. Because I'm imagining the Rattery family has like a house or a mansion on the other side of the on the other side of the gate, where they keep the other side of the gate like secure and all that. That's like
Hmm.
at the basement of their mansion or something. So I can imagine he was like sent back to the human world, possibly, and maybe when they come through the gate, they'll run into James, and we'll end the series with meeting um, meeting James Rattery for the first time, and him helping them settle back into the real world, or not the real world, but the human world.
Yeah, potentially. That's definitely a possibility for next episode.
Yeah. We also still need to see the reuniting of Isabella and Ray and see if they can ever salvage their relationship because Ray is still her child.
Right.
I'm sure she has some. I'm sure she still has. No, she definitely has maternal instinct for him. Like she definitely still cares about him.
Yeah, but I wonder how he feels about her, though. That's the thing.
I imagine that however he felt before is incredibly complicated by the fact that their whole escape just succeeded because she betrayed James.
Peter.
So like if Peter, damn. Okay, there are three people and two of them are the same person, and it just messes with my brain sometimes. Okay. And the other two, and the two of them have the same last name, so my brain just goes meh. uh, but I think that his however he feels about her is going to be complicated by that because I think I think he understands that she cares about them to like does, but also has resentment for her in the fact that she sent so many people so many family members that he cared about um to their death.
Mm-hmm.
But also because of her, he's alive and he's managed to survive. Also, she said something interesting. She said all her children got perfect scores,
Hmm.
which means they were all not even though they were all getting perfect scores, she didn't report them all getting perfect scores.
Oh, wait, really?
She said, when she
Wait, I
like
need to double check that scene because that's not how I interpreted it. Wait,
when
so
she when she
you think she fabricated the scores to keep them around longer?
yeah.
That would be insane. Okay, I need to double check that scene because
Well,
I did not
that's
interpret that dialogue that way.
because like she turned the gun and she says, "Oh, all my children got perfect scores." Which, if that's literal, all her children got perfect scores, but only Norman was reported as having a perfect score, which means that she reported them having high scores, but not all perfect scores. So she fabricated the scores a little bit.
I need to double check that now.
We'd have to double check previous episodes to see like when they talk about like the children scoring because they talk about there being a lot of high scoring kids,
I remember they
but
said
they
Phil was a pretty high scoring kid.
yeah, but they didn't talk about I think what part of it was is probably trying to save them from Lambda,
I
because you
mean,
probably knew about that too.
in the first episode of the first season, there was the testing scene, and
Hmm.
Norman, Emma, and Ray got perfect scores that day.
Yeah. I can imagine that, like, the way I interpreted what she said is that, like, oh, all my children got perfect scores, meaning her kids, that she raised her kids really well, and they're all incredibly smart. Which, I mean, have you seen half the stuff these kids do? They built hot air balloons that look like they came off a factory floor, for Pete's sakes.
I mean, they probably got these supplies from Norman's hideout, or maybe one of the hideouts that they acquired because of William Minerva's supporters.
They perfectly predicted the way that the farms would respond to them telling them that they are going to attack, and then responded and then planned for the way that the demons would react to them doing that, to then react to that. These kids have multi-layer planning and, like, understanding of how other people are going to think. They are, like, dumbly smart.
Well, one of the themes of one thing that last season focused on was strategy. Basically, it focused on the kids' ability to strategize, adjust their escape plans, predict what their opponents are going to do, and what we saw in this episode is basically a continuation of that. Basically, predicting how their opponents will react and creating this strategy to outsmart their opponents. And Isabella even did that too. And actually, I think in the first episode of the first season, when they were talking about strategy and how Norman applies it to a game of tag, I think one of
Hmm.
the kids compared it to a game of chess, and Emma
Hmm.
said something like, "We never beat Mom at chess."
Yeah.
And in this episode, we get to see how Isabella had actually outmaneuvered Peter Rattery. Checkmate.
Yeah. Turns out Isabella was the queen. Um, but still, like, I just, I don't know. The, to me, I mean, again, it's an anime, and I know they're very smart, and I know that they're, like, well trained in, like, strategy and all these things. Which, again, I'm going to point out the fact that, like, doing all of this to, like, grow big-brained kids is probably like playing with fire when it comes to keeping an animal keeping something in containment for, like, and like killing at a certain age, making it very smart and, capable of realizing that it's going to die is probably not the best way. It's probably playing with fire to a degree, because they're trying to get the kids to be incredibly smart because that's what they want for food, but it's playing with fire because, a smart person's more likely to realize what's going on and is more likely to pull off big strategies and all that, and be able to do what they just did. But it's still, to me, every time they come up with a plan, I'm like, you guys are 12. I consider myself at least a moderately intelligent human being, and when I was 12, I was a dumb, dumb human being. like, I mean, again, they're also under, like, incredible stress, and by stress I mean, like, they have an incredible motivator, and that is their own survival and their freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I think I mentioned this to you earlier or before. But, like, I think the point, or, like, the moral of the story is supposed to be, well, one of them. I think there's another one, but I think the main one is that despite the odds, or the bring me the word, despite like the amount of wow, I really can't think of this one word I'm trying to use. I it's just one word. I know the rest of the sentence. I just can't think of
Despite the
this one word.
challenge?
The challenge. No, challenge is a good word. I don't know. I can't even think of the word. Okay, we'll go with challenge because I'm just trying to be fancy with my non-English degree. Um, despite like the challenge before them, the adversity. That's the word I'm trying to think of. Adversity. What? That took way too long to think of the word adversity. Can you tell I woke up only about an hour ago? um, despite the adversity that that humans face, which in this case, I mean, they're literally being used as cattle. Humans can overcome, especially when working together.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the human spirit can overcome almost, if not anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other one is that everyone does things for like that people do bad for their own for the reason people do bad things isn't because they're inherently evil, but because they have other motivating factors. For instance, when we start the series, the demons are this big, ominous evil who eat children, and they're clearly just monsters. But like midway through season 2, we meet demons, and we start to understand why they eat people, and it's because most of them eat them because they need to survive. If they don't eat them, they either suffer immensely or turn into wild animals. And so they don't do it because they're evil. They do it because they what's the word? They don't do it because they're evil, but because they are wow, my brain's lagging. I'm sorry. I talk faster than I think, apparently. They don't do it because they're evil, because they need to for their own survival.
Right.
And I think what the moral is supposed to be is that if you offer a solution that helps both people, even both people, you can remove the conflict. Like the conflict between the demons and humans is resolved with the evil-blooded kid, and they no longer have to eat children, and therefore the demons are now helping the children because they're overthrowing the suppressive system that kept both the children and the rest of the demons in lock and key.
Right.
And there was a system that was perpetuating all this evil. The individuals who lived in the system weren't evil. The individual demons were doing what they needed to survive, and the individual kids weren't. Well, they're the huge victims, because they're the ones being eaten. But even the ones who were killing the demons, the Lambda kids, and trying to like exterminate the demons, they were doing it because they wanted to survive, and they wanted their families to survive, and they were afraid of their own death. I don't know. Am I getting the point I'm trying to make across? Have I made a point, or am I just rambling?
No, I get what you're saying, that the demons just want to survive and get through the day. The children just want to survive.
Yeah. In the end, everyone just wants to survive and be happy. It's the challenges in doing that lead to people doing things that hurt other people. And it's finding solutions to those things that cause people to have conflict between them, to being able to what's the word? That lead people to being able to live harmoniously or work together to improve the world. Because I'm going to say, like, flat out, the end of this if things keep going as they do and we don't get a sudden, I don't know, flip of narrative again in the next episode, what's happening in the demon society is a marked improvement to their world. The civilians rising up and ending the farm system, the children rising up and ending the farm system. both of those and those happening together is probably one of the best, if not the best outcome that could have happened for this world.
Right. Shut down the farm system and distribute more of Mujika's blood.
Well, it doesn't just have to be Mujika's blood. Anyone who's drinking her blood can now give their blood.
Right.
Because it's self-reproducing. So you can literally just send people out. They go to a village, last resort of risk to give it to someone, walk away, and then the other people just distribute it among their community, and then everyone's good. They also probably have to give it to like their kids too, because the grandfather's granddaughter wasn't immune to degeneration yet. When in the earlier episode, and he had to give her blood, and I'm assuming that like that's his blood granddaughter by blood. So I'm assuming that it doesn't pass down genetically, like through birth. Like if you have a kid if you had the blood and you have a kid, they're not immune, so they have to have the blood. But I think that's okay.
Right. I mean, I guess that also depends when he was infected with Mujika's blood. Like, was it before or after he had kids?
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm going to take it as he was probably a young rebellious demon when he first had the blood. That's my opinion at least, and then he had kids later. I don't know. That's my headcanon about it. But like, I don't know. Maybe it could. I don't know. We don't really know that much about the intimate details of this story. But either way, it still works out perfectly fine. Just when your kid's born and they're 2 years old, just be like, here, little Timmy, drink some blood, and he'll be all fine.
So yeah, next episode we might see what you suggested earlier, the demon world established in a new form of government and distributing their blood to end degeneration, and the kids go into the human world for the first time, potentially meeting William Minerva if he's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the man from the grandfather demon's flashback, do you think that was a supporter, or do you think that was William Minerva?
I think it was a supporter. It could have been, if that was William Minerva, that would be such a turnaround. That would have been like, James just kind of like walked off into the wilderness and we ran away from us before we could capture him, and we never found him. And he looked like this, and then Grandfather Demon just like, oops.
Grandfather Demon
that's
blind.
actually... Okay, yeah, that's true. He is blind. So... Actually, before recently, I actually had a theory that he wasn't actually blind, and he just pretended to be blind because he didn't want the kids to think he could see them and know they were human. But I'm pretty sure he's actually blind now. But I don't know. I feel like it's a supporter, but it never crossed my mind that could have been James. It never crossed my mind.
Okay, just spitballing ideas out there.
That's a pretty good idea. That would be a nice like little detail. I like that. That never crossed my mind.
And if it wasn't James, maybe we'll see him next episode.
I mean, they did say that they ousted a lot of supporters for William, and so I can imagine it could have been one of his supporters. Then again, who else would have that blueprint? But William. I was saying I had like a very Deus Ex Machina moment where, James's little
the piece of the pen.
Yeah, the piece of the pen that made it all the way to the kids. That was like a very Deus Ex Machina, but that's actually really poetic. If it was like his last event in the world was allowing this elderly demon to feed his family, but also to like maintain his what's the word, his cover. while giving him that piece, that he could eventually give that piece to the children who would escape because of the pens that he put into the farms to then crush the system that he hated so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be kind of poetic. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Sad, but it's sad that we're not going to get like a move over to the other world and James is right there sort of deal. But still pretty cool.
See.
We'll see. I kind of like your idea though.
Thanks. So at the end of this episode, Emma reached her hand out to Peter and basically offered to have him join them.
Yeah.
And the episode ended before we could see his response. Like, how do you think he'll respond?
So, that's a good question. If we're going off of the way the narrative has gone before, literally every time Emma has offered her hand to someone, they have said yes. So if we're going to continue with that theme, then he will say yes. But I also think that it would be an interesting change of events if he said no, for the simple fact that everyone else before has been doing what they've done out of fear, anger, or just a need to survive. While it seems that Peter. Thank you. While James is doing what he is doing.
Peter.
God!
Twice in a row.
I know, right? As long as it's not 3, I don't get a tic-tac-toe. As long as Peter, Peter, what was I saying? Hold on, thought process. While Peter is the reason he is doing what he's doing isn't for oh, I want to survive or this. I think at least my depiction of him is that he wants to hold on to power. There's nothing he gains in this thing. He loses his position, and in his view, the world is made worse because now humans and demons are going to fight. So I don't think that he is going to give up. Then again, I also didn't think Norman was going to change his mind, nor was Barbara or Vincent. But they did, so I could be very wrong. I just don't think that he will.
Yeah, I feel like maybe next episode he might grab or capture Emma and try to escape, and since he has Emma, Isabella and the others can't shoot him because they risk hurting Emma.
No, that's also true. We could have that could be the main
the final fight or the final action scene of the series, potentially.
Yeah. Can I just mention we never got to see the Tefari? We still don't know what that is.
What were they?
We still don't know.
Were they just talking about the harvest, or were they?
I think what they were talking about is I think the Tefari was the name for the Lambda project. It was just a code name for it, because they said they were getting Norman for the Tefari, and I can imagine that was the final stages of the Lambda project, and they were just being secretive and cool sounding for the sake of narrative.
One other thing we talked about that hasn't really been touched on or addressed this season was the special one, him, etc.
Yeah, that never touched. Nope, not at all.
Were they talking about Peter Rattery or the Rattery family, or?
I imagine that there is probably some explanation about this in the manga, and that they just never touched upon it. They didn't have the budget, or they didn't have the time to animate it. But I would still like to imagine that this is whatever god of their pantheon that the nobility worship, because it seemed like the commoners had a big connection to the cult, the evil-blooded cult, and so there's probably the parallel god or deity or set of deities that the what's the word, the that the nobility worship. that the interest that was there. It could also have just been a code name for the Gate Guardian. For Peter, it could have been. I would think that's kind of. I feel like there was probably something that was cut out that was kind of important that like got cut out of the anime because that was probably in the manga though.
Potentially. Another thing, because I think next episode is going to be the last episode of the season, I think.
Is next episode 11 or 12? I think it's 11.
Yeah, next episode is 11.
I think there's 12 episodes.
I think there's
I don't
only
have to
11
think.
this season, not counting the recap.
Okay. Well, the recap technically including it, then there's 12, but that doesn't count.
Anyway, so yeah, I think next episode is the last one of the season. And one other thing that was touched on this season that never really came up again was Sunju revealing that he wants there to be wild humans on the demon side of the world, and that wasn't touched again. I mean, we still have next episode, but so either so I wonder, like, is he gonna change his mind? Did he change his mind at some point? Is he gonna change his mind next episode? Or is that another thing that potentially was cut?
Maybe it had been something that was cut. Maybe it was something the writer just like forgot about, or maybe we misunderstood. Or maybe they did what they do sometimes, and they have the scene cut. You know, or not cut, but like kind of like how like Vincent last episode was shown to be betraying them, and then we see that like that Norman was really, like right there. Yeah, that was like actually
there
like,
and he wasn't actually betraying them.
It could be that like behind closed doors, where like as soon as the camera was cut, him and Mojika had a conversation, and he changed his mind, or maybe he was saying something and it was like couched in another like bit of conversation that made it less awful, and we just never saw it, or we haven't seen it yet, and that we're gonna get some flashback later on. Or maybe Mojika changed his mind. I think that's probably the one. I feel like Mojika probably talked to him and was like, hey, yeah, no, we don't want that.
Or maybe he changes his mind after everything that happens in this episode and potentially next episode.
Yeah, that's also possible too. Or I think that maybe. I don't know. I feel like I kind of want him to change his mind, and I don't want him to like suddenly turn into a villain all of a sudden. I really hope that doesn't happen.
Right.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
I don't want that. Like a last minute plot twist.
I don't want it. Please don't. Well, it would actually like make sense in a way. Maybe what he does. What if he sabotages the gate?
Like, what way? Like try to go over to the human side because the humans in the human world are natural.
No, and as prevent them from going across. Well, that too. That he could definitely do that, and that case would be terrifying because now we're going to have Sunju just ripping his way through New York City. I like how I imply that this is obviously in New York City. This gate is clearly on the other side. Is like right under the Empire State Building or something. That's a joke. Please don't take me seriously. If that happens, I don't know what I'm doing. No, I meant like prevent them from going across, like break the gate in some way so that they can't get over.
Well, he did break into that one room with those other civilians.
Yeah. But like prevent them from escaping, so that way they're stuck here, so that way eventually they have to reproduce, and then he can hunt their children eventually. I think that would be really dark, and I don't want that happening. Or the other one of him just being like, human world, human meat, let's go.
So we'll have to see what happens next episode.
Yeah.
Today is Wednesday, so the new episode should be out tomorrow. So by the time I finish editing this video and upload it, the final episode will probably already be out.
Yeah. We apologize for being like a little bit late with things. Life happens. We're both working again, which is wonderful because it's not fun not to be working. But it also makes it a little harder to like.
And I guess I put too much work into editing these videos because I try to get a bunch of screenshots of the conversations the characters are having to illustrate what we're talking about, and it takes time and effort.
I mean, you do an amazing job, and I know I've mentioned before that I don't like fully watch the videos, mostly because I don't like hearing my own voice, but I do like I'll thumb through them, like I'll look at them and like click through them so I can see like the editing. I just don't like listening to my voice. I have an awful voice.
No, you don't. I've gotten used to the
I have
sound
an
of my
awful
voice.
Those are words I will never be able to say. But I do, and you do a really good job, and I appreciate the work you do, and I'm sure our audience appreciates it as well.
Thank you.
And hey, just I know you're working, and I don't want you burning yourself out. So you can, if it comes down to it, you can just yell at me, and I can try and start editing again. Proceeds to light film reel on fire.
So I guess that's it for the episode. Any final thoughts before we close?
Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the bottom. In the bottom. Yes, in the bottom. In the comments below. Please let us know. Please give Sal here a thank you or a compliment for her amazing editing. And
I mean, it's not that
hey.
complex.
I'm still incapable of editing, okay? A little bit of that is just me not being able to pay attention long enough to edit. I don't know how I'm able to hold down the job I am with my incredibly short attention span. You guys can't see it, but Sal can, where I'm just like, oh, look at the screen, look over there, look over there, look over there. Oh, bird! Oh, squirrel! The entire time we're recording, while I'm talking, I'm just like, what's over there?
When you went squirrel, it reminded me of that running gag in that Pixar movie Up.
Yeah, that's what I'm referencing. Which is funny because there is a squirrel outside.
Anyway, getting back on topic, final thoughts on the episode or predictions for next episode?
This was a great episode. Sunju, don't do it.
I agree. This was a really good episode.
But you're not gonna say Sunju, don't do it? You want to see what happens?
Yeah, Sunju, don't do it. I mean, we'll see We'll see how or if they wrap up the Sunju thing.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I don't know if they will. Actually, it was such a big thing because they had a whole moment. I'm sure that across Majuka's gonna turn to Sunju and be like, "So, no more hunting kids or no wanting to hunt wild kids?" And he's gonna be like, "No, I changed my mind."
That would be nice, actually.
Yeah, it would be.
If spending more time with the kids and seeing how they've helped everyone, maybe that would change his mind, or he feel like he wouldn't want to betray them like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think that would make a lot of sense.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, it would. I just don't want him killing people. He is a sweet cinnamon roll. He sits in the well. Don't do it, Sunju. Don't do it. Just sit in the well. It's comfortable. Call back to earlier in this episode. um, yeah. How about you? Any last final thoughts, opinions, predictions?
I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about. Again, this episode was really good. A lot of cool action and cool surprises. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but in some ways it's a little reminiscent of season 1 episode 11 when we get to the night of the escape and the escape plan takes action and we realize how much was actually going on behind the scenes and it blows our minds. And similar, it was kind of similar here where we find out how much was going on behind the scenes, how Isabella was planning to betray Rattery from the start, and also seeing how the kids were able to outsmart the demons and Peter.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. The amount of like reveals and double crossings and like, oh, they actually did this instead of that. That I think it's pretty cool and amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, I hope you all have a great time and thank you for watching.
Don't be afraid to like and subscribe. Check out our other videos if you haven't already. Be sure to share this video, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye!
All right. See you again sometime soon. Bye.